Matt Cunningham joins us live now from Darwin. He was listening in on that. Interesting that Anthony Albanese was saying, look, it's commercial in confidence now. We can't give you an idea on timing, even though he said that he would give details. Now he's in Darwin. He's got feet to the fire, but still wasn't budging. What did you think of all of that? The questions, but the answers and sometimes non-answers, Matt?
Well, it's hard not to think that the Prime Minister's kind of stuffed this up a little bit, Laura, to be honest. I mean, this should have been the easiest free kick they had throughout this whole campaign. We're talking about a port here that was leased by a country Liberal Party government back in 2015 for 99 years to the Chinese company Landbridge. We're talking about an incident that happened when the coalition was in power federally, and yet here we have the Prime Minister seemingly on the back foot about it. Now, we spoke to Luke Gosling, who you heard a little bit from there. We spoke to him in early March about this issue, and he was signalling the federal government's intentions on this issue, and was even talking about some of the figures involved. There had been reports that Landbridge wanted $1.3 billion to buy that lease back. Luke Gosling was saying to us, well, we think that's an ambered claim, but, we reckon we can work through that and come up with some kind of commercial offer. And he kept saying there'd be more to say during the campaign. Of course, Peter Dutton got the jump on the Prime Minister last Friday when he told journalists that he was about to make an announcement, and then the Prime Minister sort of had to jump in and rush onto ABC radio to say, hey, we're going to do this too. But he is perhaps signalling one point of difference between the Coalition and Labor now on this issue. Peter Dutton's put a 6-month time frame on those commercial negotiations. He says that if it doesn't happen within those 6 months, then the Coalition will move to compulsorily acquire the Port of Darwin. You heard the Prime Minister say there, well, that's not a very smart thing to do, because the minute you put a time frame on it, well, it puts you in a poor negotiating position. You'd have to say that Landbridge at the moment is probably the winner in all of this, because you've got both sides of politics now saying we want to do a commercial deal to take the port back. There's going to be a lot of pressure on whoever wins the election to do that. And I think Landbridge at the moment is sitting there just thinking, well, how much can we get for this asset?
Yeah, that's right.
We paid just over $500 million for 10 years ago.
The government's going to pay overs for sure, Matt. I also thought it was interesting that Anthony Albanese chose to target Jacinta Price there, linking her to Doge, kind of calling her the Elon Musk of Australia. Katie Gallagher getting in on that one as well. Is that kind of thing resonating in the NT?
Look, I think criticism of Jacinta Price is something that Labor will be trying to do, particularly in the seat of Lingiari, perhaps not on that issue. I think what we heard from Katie Gallagher there was targeted perhaps at Darwin's northern suburbs, where you see a lot of public servants live and work. About 25,000 Northern Territory public servants, but as you heard the government say there, about 2,000 federal public servants who live and work in the Northern Territory. Labor's obviously trying to get the message through to them that if the Coalition wins this election, that their job is not safe. So in a public service town, you can understand why they're trying to hit home that kind of message, perhaps trying to push back against the other issue that we didn't hear any questions about in that press conference. But I think the other issue that will be front of mind for voters here, even though it's not a federal issue, and that's the issue of crime. I think the Country Liberal Party is going to campaign really hard on that issue in both Lingiari and Solomon. Even in the past week, we've seen more terrible incidents. A Danish tourist in Alice Springs who was bashed unconscious at 4 o'clock in the afternoon just the other day, Laura. And then there was an incident yesterday in the community of Palumpa where a stolen car was actually chasing a police car around that community. So those crime issues haven't gone away. There is a CLP government in power now, but the CLP is obviously trying to hitch its wagon to the CLP Chief Minister, Leah Finocchiaro, whose popularity is still incredibly high, and is saying, well, we're really going to crack down on some of those issues.
Interesting indeed, Matt. You got at least a day of a flurry of activity there, and then I reckon Peter Dutton will be hot on Albo's heels campaigning in Darwin as well. Matt, we'll see you soon.